Yes. Yes, thank you. I will give it a start. Hope my video is on. Yes. I think I will share my screen first and just wait. I am sharing my screen. I am sharing my screen. What happened? Window, desktop. Yes. Hope my screen is visible now. Presentation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I will give a start.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. At the outset, I thank the organizers of Sri Saradha College for Women Salem. My talk will be on an introduction to biomathematical modeling, and I will touch the utility of Microsoft Excel in biomathematical modeling. At the outset, I have some disclaimers to make. This concept of biomathematical modeling is found in many books, and I will show the books which I am using. And I am only responsible for the flow, the way I have organized things. Okay. Let me share the presentation. Yes. I am now Dean Research and Innovation Registrar Evaluation of Sri Sathya University for Human Excellence. The trust associated with which university is associated is running over 30 educational institutions, hospitals, completely free of charge. I am proud to be part of such an organization. So these are the certain books. My talk will be generally in nature. At the outset, I have the disclaimer to make, because I understand that there can be PG students of mathematics. I am not sure whether PG students of biology are there. So my talk will be general in nature to induce some curiosity. These books I have shared the invitation to biomathematics modeling and biomathematics modeling and simulation, and the models for life. This book I like very much. And the introduction to discrete mathematical modeling with Excel. When you have Excel by your side, this kind of modeling real situations becomes easy for the beginner. And of course, the fussy part is also there in this modeling. So this will be a demonstrative talk to introduce the students into the concept of mathematical modeling. I will soon explain the concept of mathematical modeling in case students are not familiar with it. I have an expectation, have an open mind to learn any new concept. This mathematics is the modeling language for real world problems. You would have seen mathematics as equations, curves. Okay, but it really models real world situations. I tell you, I will start with my own experience in getting into mathematical modeling, how I got into mathematical modeling. I am not an expert in biomathematical modeling, right? Let that be clear. I don't work in that. I do mathematical modeling with generally these business models, business optimization problems, operation research, and I get into all that. Modeling real world problems, optimization problems with Microsoft Excel for the benefit of students. I use OpenSolver, with which we can solve thousands of problems with thousands of variables. I will give you a couple of examples how I got into this modeling. When one student joined with me, she had a inclination for physics. Okay. So all this mathematical modeling starts with a question. Starts with a question that you have in mind. The question I had in mind at that moment was, the idols are there in temples. With which stone they are making the idols? How do they decide which stone is suitable for idol making? Right? Then I gave this project to my student. So what she did was to collect 5 or 6 stones, grind, and those pinch of those ground particles were studied in the physics lab. They studied the movement of molecules, how strong the bonds, and then brought them into mathematical equations. Okay. So that way we decided the type of stone that is used in temples for making idols is the most suitable one. Another student studied the way fruits and vegetables are distributed in a very whole scale vegetable market. So we could model the business of the vegetable market. It's a wide distribution network, how fast it goes, and how to purchase minimum vegetables with minimum cost, how to distribute at effective speed, and all that. So these are modeled as business models. So mathematical modeling, to put it very simple, see, you have a algebraic problem like determining how many kilos of certain vegetables to be purchased. Okay. So these kind of algebraic models are transformed into simultaneous equations, x plus 2y equal to 1, like that. You might have seen simultaneous equations, linear equations, and solving them you get the values of x, y, z. That is got back to the original real life situation. Another modeling is matrix. Matrix, right? Any data that can be arranged in arrays can be put as a matrix, and with the properties of matrices we study the problem. Graph theory is another modeling, graph modeling. So you can any real problem that is suitable for converting into graphs, you can convert it into a graph. So various types of models are there, not only mathematical, iconic, schematic, descriptive, prescriptive, predictive, normative, static, all this you see there, right? So many models. And biological models are there, mathematical models are there. So we will get into biomathematical models. So modeling is essentially looking at a real life situation, see what is the suitable mathematical model that can be applied to that situation. Is it differential equation? Is it a matrix? Is it a graph? Okay. Is it what is that automata? Can it be a computer model? Model is not physical model. So you have to get into appropriate mathematical modeling. Right. So let me get into some. I told you this is an eye opener. This is an introduction to biomathematical modeling. So let me take some topics in biology, the subtopics of it, and the related mathematical topics with which these biological phenomena can be modeled. You are not sure about students how do you get into to choose the problem. My general advice to any research scholar, any PG student, don't ask your guide for a problem. Okay. You will have to choose a problem that keeps bothering you. For example, this corona pandemic is there. Now how it spreads, why it spreads. So if a person comes and sits in a chair, a corona infected person, if I sit in the chair, will I get corona? All these questions must be there in the mind. Then you must get into the appropriate mathematical model. Okay, how microbes are there. So this some fellow claims my sanitizer is more effective. It has less alcohol, more of herbs, and that cleans. So you have a question whether that sanitizer will clean your hands effectively or not. So how to drag them into mathematical models? Mathematical models are concrete. That's why people come to mathematical modeling. Okay. So let me have some biological topics. Ecology, conservation biology. Like such topics are connected with discrete and continuous dynamical systems, difference equations and differential equations. So to study these models in ecology, you have to be thorough with differential equations or difference equations or systems of differential equations. Then microbiology, epidemiology, you have to get into continuous dynamical systems. These names might be new to you, I am not sure. But you must know there are various topics in mathematics. I am addressing students. There are various topics in mathematics which are not yet explored in the our curriculum. They are reserved for research scholars. But it is better to get into this kind of learning, at least to get to know what these topics are. Then one more famous topic in biology is genetics. Okay. So to study genetics effectively, you need probability, distributions and discrete dynamical systems. Okay. So such concepts need to be studied. Then biostatistics you have. To study biostatistics, you need to be good at statistics and need to identify which probability distribution can be used there. There are various, in the school level, college level, we study usually these three discrete distributions, two and continuous distributions, normal. But let me tell you, there are dozens of distributions which are suitable for each situation. So if you study statistics well, then you can get into genetics and biostatistics, right? Then physiology and endocrinology is there, like studying blood glucose levels, study on diabetics. Yes. For this, you need to know about statistics, risk functions and data transformation, right? Then about biochemistry is there. See, I know one of the students I know in mathematics, they went to chemistry to model the, you might have seen the protein structures. They look like graphs with the dots joined by lines. So they undertook the study of bioinformatics. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Others may please mute themselves. No, the other participants may please mute themselves. Some other conversation is going on parallelly. Please mute yourselves. Right. So if you study probability distributions and continuous dynamical systems, well, then you can get into cell biology and biochemistry. And numerical mathematics is the powerful tool. So if you know if you learn numerical mathematics better, then biochemistry and physiology modeling can be done easily. Okay. And always this continuous dynamical systems, you see they come in this ecology, microbiology, and here also in biochemistry, cell biology, endocrinology, in all that. Okay. And the time series is always there to help you in molecular biology. So these are some biological topics and the related mathematical topics with which part of mathematics you will be able to model the biological phenomena. So understand that unless you study certain part of mathematics, modeling in biology can be difficult. So let me get into certain details at the surface level only. I am not going deep into anything. This aim of this talk, as I told your madam, is to introduce that there are mathematical circles which can help modeling biological phenomena. So one topic is the processes that change with time. So this will get into dynamical systems. Here you use data to formulate a model. There are discrete and continuous models. Logistic models are there. Then discrete population growth, drug eliminations can be studied with these processes that change with time. Certain laboratory exercises can be suggested to monitor the growth of a bacterial population using visible light spectrophotometry. Hope you might be having such equipments in your lab. So this exercise can be accomplished in one day, which demonstrable exponential growth within few hours. Right? This can be tried. I have shared the relevant books, that's why I am not going deep into it. Then monitor the growth of population of a certain species. This is a long-term exercise requiring periodic counting of flies over a couple of months. So understand that certain biological experiments may run into months. Certain will end in a day or two. Right. Then complex dynamics emerging from interacting dynamical systems. The dynamical systems can interact with each other. So infectious diseases can be studied. The spread of an epidemic. Epidemic models with delay and models with intermediate groups. Predator-prey interactions can be studied with complex dynamics. This is one such model I am showing. This is a figure about measles in England and Wales, taken from the book. Okay. So in weekly case notifications of measles in England and Wales before general vaccination was initiated. So it can be studied with a particular software, and this is one of the examples that I am showing. Next, how this mathematics gets into genetics. Complex hereditary patterns can be studied. Genes, environments and variation in a population can be studied. Chromosomes and the physical basis of heredity can be studied. This is one such model of offsprings. So diagram of chromosomes in Mendel cross of F1 generation. This is one such model, mathematical model in genetics. Then quantitative genetics and statistical testing. Just look at one type of pilot study. 15 female college students in a college were studied. So to obtain the handspan, students were directed to open each hand as widely as possible. Students placed the tip of the thumb, the 0 mark meter stick, and then measured to the tip of the little finger, like that it goes, and the dominant hand was indicated by checking the appropriate box in the data sheet. Okay. So this hand span measurement can be studied statistically. Another, I am showing the various topics in biology that can be mathematically modeled. So risk analysis of blood glucose data. This comes after quantifying the characteristics of diabetes, the model validation strategies, and the blood glucose risk function. So this is the group comparison of T1DM and T2DM subjects. You are seeing the HbA1c average that is listed over there, the hemoglobin average. So this is how mathematics gets into it, numbers get into it. Then septicemia in neonates, the yet to be born childs. The premature births can be studied, low birth weights and health risks can be studied. And one of the 3 hospitals run by our organization, they are devoted to CHDs, the to help the so-called blue babies, the children with holes in their heart. So how to prevent the formation of that, how to evaluate the risk factors of children to be born with that CHD, at what age it may hit them, all that can be studied, and the area-wise study can also be made. This is the table of the model. Then, how your blood transports oxygen, that can be studied. It will be useful especially in this pandemic. So the mathematical models of hemoglobin oxygen binding and deriving fractional saturation functions with the binding polynomials, and this is one of the model diagram that is shown. Next, let me get into endocrinology and hormone pulsatility. 2 methods are the classical methods and deconvolution methods. A typical example of how serum growth hormone concentration changes over a 24-hour period. So you are seeing how mathematics can help to model the biological phenomena. Next one is the endocrine network modeling, evolution and control of hormone concentration, networks with multiple feedback loops. 2 models are shown by the side. Detecting rhythms in biological clocks. Biological clock, you know, like our body runs on a biological clock. Morning this has to be done, afternoon this has to be done, when do you have to sleep? Okay. So this can be simulated with the data pre-processing strategies. Rhythm analysis can be done. Okay. And this model is shown here, one such model. Yes. Then I will get into models for life, introducing discrete mathematical modeling with Microsoft Office Excel. So far, I gave a very, very brief surface level idea of how this, I showed a table here, how mathematics can be certain topics in mathematics can be useful in studying the biological phenomena. Okay. So when you have questions in some biological phenomena, the relevant mathematical topic should be recognizable. So when a data is arranged in array, you immediately recognize it as a matrix. When a data has dots and lines connecting them, you immediately recognize the model as a graph. When a model has optimization elements in it, that is, there will be resources, there will be constraints, okay? There will be many constraints, resources will be there, and there will be an objective function to be achieved, whether to maximize profit or minimize loss, minimize cost. If such a model comes to your mind, then you see that you are getting into optimization problems, business optimization problem. So, your job will be to find out a real life situation and then only to look for the corresponding mathematical model, not the reverse. Like I have a mathematical model with me, I have an equation with me, x plus 2y is equal to 4, 2x plus 3y equal to 5. I will find a real life situation that will match this equation. It won't work, not that way. You have to get a real life situation, like then you reformulate it in the terms of x and y, you get the equation, solve and get back to it. That is the approach. Not that I have a mathematical model with me, I have developed a theorem, I have developed a model, and I go on searching for a real life situation that suits it. That never works. So let me show certain real life phenomena which can be modeled as discrete mathematics with discrete mathematics with Microsoft Excel, because that is the simplest one for students to use. Okay, right. I have 3-4 models to discuss. Blood alcohol concentration. So the study of the course of a drug as it is administered, absorbed and eliminated from the body is a field that is worth studying. See, it is not that when we have headache, we just take a medicine. They may give us diclofenac. So, unless you understand how it is eliminated from the body, the dosage of the medicine can be a tricky one. See, diclofenac they give usually 50 grams, 100 grams. What if I have a lot of body ache and take 200 grams at one stroke? What will happen? The kidney finds it very difficult to dispose of the chemical of the body. So how it is administered? Sometimes we go to doctor, I have a pain, please give us injection. We simply say, right? But how it's different. The injection is directly fed into the bloodstream. Okay, now it matters how it is administered. How it is administered. But if you have less fever and more of paracetamol is given to you, you might have seen the body get colder. Okay, so it is important to study how a drug is administered, absorbed and eliminated from the body. This is worth studying. So we build such models, pharmacokinetic models, for predicting the amount of drug in the body over time with a special focus on commonly used drugs such as alcohol, ibuprofen, caffeine. Don't think the medicines won't leave our body just like that, because the tablet we take doesn't have only the chemical, it has got all supportive materials over there. They get accumulated in the body as calciums. Overuse of painkillers will get accumulated in our joints. So it is very important to study the course of the drug in the body. So this can be simply studied with this data validation dialogue. I will be very happy to later, if you want, I will get into the real workshop on how to do biological modeling with Excel. I am just showing the screenshots here taken from the book. Next model is body weight and body composition. We can study models for projecting weight and body composition changes brought about by changes in the diet or activity level. Right? Somebody wants to reduce their weight. They have multiple options like reducing the diet or increasing the activity level. But it is important to understand that weight management is a complex issue that involves many behavioral and societal factors beyond the scope of the book that I have given you. Please understand this weight management, why I say this behavioral problems. Diet is okay. Diet is okay. You have a very good diet given by the dietitian. But what happens? The societal factors, like for example, you attend a marriage function and you are forced to take some more diet. That is, the 5 days calorie would be taken in simply a day. So models like the ones which we develop can predict weight changes based on assumed eating habits. That is the promised eating habit. That is, if a patient says, I will take 2 idlis in the morning, 2 idli in the afternoon and only 2 chapatis in the lunch, then the model is based on that assumption of that diet. Okay. So this kind of models can be a failure also in case the model is not correctly followed. So these things can be easily modeled in Excel with the simple Excel formula. Right. Then the spread of infectious diseases can be studied. There are certain questions that come to our mind when we try to model the diseases with mathematics. How fast the disease will spread? You have seen how fast the recent pandemic was spreading. But in case you have some other disease, measles or something, the spread will be slow. If it is airborne, spread will be fast. Okay. If it is touch-based, then spread can be slow. Okay. If it is blood-based, if it spreads through blood, then spread can be slow. So how many will be infected? Is it a endemic or pandemic or just a spread? How many may remain uninfected? How long will the epidemic last? So you must have seen some institution have come up with models that is predicting the surge of the 4th wave of corona in the month of June or something. How do they do that? They develop a model and study it. Understand that this can be done this way. It's called SIR model. And it can be put in Excel like this with contact rate, duration of the infectivity and the total population. Okay, and certain formulas can be fed over there. It's as easy as that, not difficult. Then two population models are there: density independent populations model and density dependent population model. So when a biologist, ecologist or anybody who wants to study the population, again certain quantitative questions arise there. The model has to address all these questions. How many are there in the population? How many will be there in the future? What is the predicted population? How fast is the population growing or declining? Whether the population keeps on increasing or something happens, the population goes down in certain countries. So if the population is declining, is it due to low birth rate or excess mortality? Right? People die faster, or the birth rate is very slow. The population is not growing. The birth rate is pretty slow. So what will be the effect of human efforts to manage the population? Can we do something to bring it down or boost it up? You might have seen in certain countries, they encourage to have more children. Certain countries discourage to have more children. So all this can be arrived at once we have the population models only. And lastly, what will be the effect of natural disasters on the population? Suppose a tsunami comes or something else comes, what will happen to the population? A war-like situation comes, what will happen to the population? So these are density independent populations model, and they are done with very simple formulas on Excel. I am just showing the screenshot due to lack of time. One more model is density dependent population model. This real population seldom exhibit exponential growth for long. So the models that take these growth limiting effects into account are said to be density dependent. And this can also be modeled with the Excel with simple formulae. Okay. Now, I will give a general advice on this mathematical modeling. As I told you, always look for a real life situation that is nagging in your mind. What are the questions in your mind? Since it is biomathematics, some biological questions can be there. For example, is the disease, some disease is spreading. What if it is waterborne? What if it is airborne? What about the carriers? If you have questions in your mind, who is a carrier? Is a person who is vaccinated, is he still a carrier? And the people say there are silent carriers. Okay, all these questions are there. So if earlier in the beginning of the pandemic they were saying the viruses will live longer on surfaces. Okay, later they started ignoring it. They said it would be airborne. Okay. So you have questions on some biological phenomena. There are so many rats in the house, and the population of rats is increasing like anything. So how fast does it increase? What can be done to reduce the population of the rats? That is a question in the mind. Okay. Then you have to search for the appropriate population model to study the growth of rats. So the problem has to start from within you. Find a problem that is nagging you. There is a peculiar disease that comes up and the hens keep on dying. Okay. And there is a peculiar disease that catches up the leaves of trees. Something goes off the trees, the leaves keep falling. How to study this? Let me stop presenting. Yes, you will stop presenting to see. Yes, I have stopped presenting. So this is I was telling about the general methodology to go for modeling. Always search for a problem on your hand. Don't scratch anybody to give a problem to you. PG students might have PG projects. Your research scholars may have to choose some problem for their thesis. I tell you, go in the right direction. Choose a problem that bothers you. Choose a problem that bothers you. Maybe efficacy of a medicine. They say for dengue, the papaya leaves are effective. You have to study it mathematically. You have to put it as a model, convert them into equations, and then study. Somebody might say this tulsi is very good for cold. You will have to put it as a model. Certain models are statistical. Certain models get into the dynamical systems, differential equation. So you will have to identify the nature of the model, that under which mathematical phenomena is demanded out of that model. That link you yourself have to find out. Your guide may help you. Okay, but still, this identifying the relevant mathematical concept
and then studying the concept. And then you can get into appropriate books. I have shared some 4 books to your organizer that I find very interesting. Okay. So that is the general advice I am giving you. Always search for a problem. See, people, you might read papers, okay, that is describing various mathematical model. You wonder how do you get those equations? How do these people get those equations? Okay, they don't get the equations first. When they start the paper, equations will come first, right? But there we don't get the equations first. You get the situation, then observe which mathematical model is best suitable to describe the situation. For example, the problem of coloring, India map is there, or the coloring of the India map with various colors, or a timetabling problem, or the shortest path problems can be either attacked as a operation research problem or can be attacked as a graph theory problem. So you will have to decide which mathematical model is best suitable to handle the situation. Then take a month or 2, learn that mathematical concepts. And your model will have limitations, because when you come from the real world situation to mathematicals, there will be limitations. You will limit yourself. Like your mathematical model cannot be as dynamic as the real world situation. Suppose you are modeling blood flow, okay, you cannot take into consideration the every aspect of blood flow. If you take more water, blood can be thinner. If you take a lot of garlic, blood can become thinner. If you take certain food, blood can become thicker also. So you make some certain assumptions when modeling the blood flow. That will help to determine the solution for the problem on your hand. Okay. So when you take this medication, will blood flow faster? If there are clots in the blood, will this medication kill that? And mostly these biological problems are medicals. If you take those problems, they are most relevant to society. So that's what many experts present medical problems to address this real life situations. So that is the final advice I am giving to all students. Look for a real world problem, then see which mathematical model is suitable, then only you study the mathematical model. Okay. Then if you have a problem in your mind and study over it, the plagiarism issues won't come. You need not look to anybody to give you a problem. Problems are plenty. With open eyes, if you keep seeing, problems are plenty in and around us. Okay, so with that I conclude. Namaste. Yes, madam, organizers can take over. And the book can be shared among participants, especially the models for real life with discrete mathematical structures. And try it with the Excel. Okay, that is better. I can send you the Excel sheets if you want. Okay, thank you. Yes, madam, you can take over. If students have doubts, they can ask.
Participants, do you have any queries?
So I understand this. Mostly students are there, and the first time when they get exposed to something, questions won't come. But to let them make the attempt to read some basic books I have sent to them on, I think many of them are from mathematics. Let them go through the book and gain some interest in this concept of mathematical modeling. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Yes.
Now I invite Dr. M.K. Uma